I've said this in many videos before, and I will continue to say, anime, manga are starting to make a major push into the U.S. We have talked this in other shows, but before we start, once again, I want to thank our new subscribers. Thank you for coming on and subscribing to the show, liking the episodes, also sharing them out as well. And those of you who have supported us financially, thank you. What we get from you via PayPal, through Streamlabs, Teespring, and BitChute, that goes right back into programming. You know, that, which is very, very important. It costs money for us to have staff, maintenance equipment, new equipment. You know, there's a lot of stuff that we can do with this, but we just don't have full financing on here. We're trying to do our best, and without YouTube's help, it becomes a bigger struggle, because basically they have taken us out of some suggestion lists. You don't see us in suggestion because they don't like some of the programming and some of the discussions that we have here on YouTube. And, you know, YouTube was made for independent creators like me and many others, but yet they're pushing major networks, Jimmy Fallon, the NBC News, ABC News. You know, they spend more time pushing that and calling us fake news and calling us that we're radicals and stuff like that. But we're just bringing basic information to you. You know, we're bringing entertainment. There are many things that we're doing for you, but yet they just push us back. But getting back to this, we've discussed this on a couple of episodes. You know, about anime. We talk about manga. Over the weekend, this came out on comicbook.com that they were talking about this. July 2nd, there was a convention, Project Anime in LA, and they described that basically there's a radical change coming as there's more interest in anime and manga. I've discussed this before on an article that Viz Media is starting to make American manga titles. That they're starting to mass produce them for audiences here in the United States, and also they're doing some, bringing some more titles in that they're generally, you generally won't see unless you go to somewhere, specifically special for this. There are some specialty stores. If you live in the Northeast, New York City, you go down to Chinatown and you can find a couple places that will have all these on there. But there are places cropping up. I mean, you can get manga in comic book stores. Places like, here in New York, we got Forbidden Planet, one of the biggest, oldest comic book stores out, Midtown Comics. Out in the boroughs, you have a place called Comic Book Jones, which is an excellent store. They just expanded. Surprisingly, a lot of comic book stores are shutting down. Comic Book Jones is popular. It is on the island because there's only maybe 2 other comic book stores out there. Comic Book Jones basically has expanded, so their business is increasing, and they've added some new things on there. They do stuff like tailgate parties for the big movies, stuff like the Marvel movies, some of the action flicks. And that's a pretty good idea to get more customers that way. It's whatever you can get the customers to come into your store to buy your wares on there, because the comic book industry has been suffering drastically with all these changes. You got guys like Ethan Van Sciver who's trying to put out a comic, and he's going to get that out. He's gotten the finance behind it. Then you have the new Vampirella one that's coming very soon. That they're trying to stop from that. Then they had Jawbreaker and a couple other comics that they're trying to not, that they're those who just don't like some of these people, and they just don't want these comics to come out. They want to push their political narrative into the comic, and this is why we have these problems with the comic book industry. You have Marvel that is suffering hard on there, but when you see the manga that's doing very well, and just to show you on there in New York, and they do have a second location in Edgewater, New Jersey. There's a place, and I'm sorry if I butchered the name, Kikukunya in Manhattan. This is on 6th Avenue. It's a great bookstore, and they have a gigantic, a really gigantic collection of Asian books, mangas, magazines, DVDs. Anything Japanese, they got it there as far as the book. When you have companies like Baker and Taylor not doing business anymore with bookstores, they're just dealing with libraries now. You're going to have these independent companies, big companies come in from overseas, coming in over here to build these stores up, and it's a great store. It's a big, they have one of the best manga libraries in there. And if you even go to the New York public libraries out here, even in the outer boroughs, they got mangas. They have a lot of mangas because kids are reading them a lot. And when you have situations like that, and you're starting to see increases in the comic book stores, their sections are starting to increase. That could this be the end of the comic book industry? Or with the help of guys like Ethan Van Sciver and a couple of others, could the manga help push it back into the industry? It's hard to say right now. Right now we are on, as I say, the comic book industry is on life support right now, especially Marvel, DC. They're just literally on. We lost Vertigo. How could we lose Vertigo? I loved Vertigo. Now it's like everything's all compiled, consolidated into one major company. As far as that, you had these separate titles, and they were great to pick up because you knew what, when you're looking for a Vertigo comic, you knew what you were going to get. When you were going for another independent, any of the other independent ones that came off of DC or Marvel, you knew what you were getting into. Now it's like everything else all smushed together, and that makes it's going to take away from the content of the comic book itself, because you're not going to get these great comics that you used to. When you're pushing Captain Marvel, which is doing horrible, and when you can't get your main distributor to take them back, that's a major issue. You just lost Walking Dead. Walking Dead is over. That one of the major comics, one of the best selling comics out there constantly. The Walking Dead is finished. And when you have others, Marvels and DC, that's not making good comics out there because they're bending the knee to these radicals, these one percenters that just literally know nothing what the average comic book reader wants to see and read. It has become a ridiculous matter when it comes to that. And it's the same thing with movies on that. And, they're banking on now the industry, like Sony and Warner Brothers, because they own, you got Sony, who owns Funimations, and you got Warner Brothers, who has Crunchyroll, and basically they are trying to push to make more movies from anime titles. You got anime pushing in here. Netflix, is working with several Japanese production. IG happens to be one of them. To create new one. I'm just now finishing, and I have to highly recommend it. If you haven't seen Devilman Crybaby yet, I highly recommend it. I'm in the last 3 chapters of it, and it is a fantastic. The look of it. It's not this typical Japanese anime, but it's got that really good feeling. Almost Fully Cooley-ish type of, in a way. But the storyline, the action, I wouldn't recommend it to anybody very young, because basically there is nudity and sexual content and heavy violence in the story itself, in the series. But it happens to be very, very good. I also enjoyed, there was a couple of others. Of course, the Godzilla, the Ultraman series has been very good. There was one other, I can't remember the name of this series, but there was like one other that was like really, really the storyline good, and I'm hoping they do a season 2 on that. And I'm trying to get into some of the others that are in that lineup that basically Netflix has been doing. I mean, with Netflix, it's been a little bit of hit and miss with the anime, but you're seeing as they start to learn and manipulate the way that they're advertising it, because basically, they're starting to push more advertisements on there, and I'm talking online. You don't see regular commercials for them, other than what you see online, and I think that's where they're sparing themselves the money, so they're able to create more and more of this, because basically they're trying to get it out where the consumers are, where the anime fans is online, and when they get really good critiques of stuff on YouTubers that give them good critique and all that. They're not shadow banning. I mean, they're not throwing what do they call it? They're not ID content at us that basically they're starting to flag our videos. They're taking it. I mean, this is how you're supposed to advertise. Let the guys talk about the videos themselves. Let them show a clip or two, not to go through the whole thing or tell them anything, but basically, let them put that content out. I mean, even if they didn't like it, it's okay, because there is no such thing as a bad review. It's only just more reinforcement of your product, online. I mean, am I saying Netflix is the perfect place for anime? No, not yet. Could it be? Possibly. It depends on what direction they go in. If they don't get too political, because I know recently they talked about removing a lot of smoking from their live action stuff, after the whole Stranger Things season 3. I can understand that, but, you can't twist to what people's going to say. You're going to have people smoking in movies. You're going to have people drinking in movies. They pretty much on TV, I don't even think you see pretty much people smoking anymore like it used to be. But, when you look at it and they say, someone says, well, I don't like that because, they smoking. Well, don't watch it. Plain and simple. Don't watch it, if you just don't like it. It's life. Life has their situations. It's, you had those guys talking on YouTube about video games and the N-word from Germany, those really bad dudes from Germany that, why do you have to play those in a video game? I mean, this is the kind of stupidity you see when you hear people complaining about things. When they complain about anime and they complain about comic books and video games and stuff like that. This is where we're at. Now, with anime coming to the U.S., is it going to be a problem with these live actions? Somewhat. And I'll tell you why. When you have Battle Angel, who did very good, I haven't seen it yet, and I'm waiting for the DVD to come out, but from what my friends tell me, it is a fantastic movie. It is one to catch. You get one in maybe a dozen that do better. You have an Akira movie coming out, Cowboy Bebop, a couple others. We cross fingers that they do a good job, that they don't end up to be like Dragon Ball and The Last Airbender, because you know what it is, and this is what the major problem is, and this is why Battle Angel did very well. Battle Angel's producers and directors didn't bend the knee to the production company. They did what they were supposed to do, how they do it, because the guys love the storyline. They were avid readers of the book, and basically when you have people who love the topic, the books and stuff like that, and they make the movie, let them make the movie. Don't throw in your politics and stuff like that. Oh, we can't have this because it wouldn't be right here in America. Blah, blah, blah. No, this is when you change the storyline on any of the movies, it just turns it into mud. It's not the original. when you look back at, for example, Ghost in the Shell, the reason Ghost in the Shell didn't do too well, and mostly what it was, part of it was the storyline, but it was the cinematography that killed it. When you go back, look at the cinematography of the original movie, anime movie, versus the live action film, and you'll see the subtle differences on how things were shot. Because it was, and that's what made Ghost in the Shell so brilliant, is how the detail and the way, sometimes you had moments where the camera stood in place at a quiet location and nothing was really going on, and then suddenly, boom, you had the action kick in. And then you had those unusual shots where, you were just driving by and you were seeing people, like poor people and people around, around the shops and the square, and all that was added onto there, but you didn't really see it that way. It wasn't shot that way in the live action movie. You saw more of a pushback, and basically the larger picture, which you had all these graphics and stuff like that, which was okay, it was cool and all that, but it just didn't show the emotion of the city itself. And that was one thing that was missing, was the emotion that was in the main city where this was being shot at. And that's why it didn't do too well with a lot of the Ghost in the Shell fans. Some people didn't like the storyline either, but I think most people were saying the cinematography wasn't that good. So, comment below. Tell me, do you think manga is going to kill the comic book industry? I mean, that is the major thing on there. Is anime going to be the next major movie push now? Are they going to squeeze that bloodstone totally? Are we going to get, like, you see My Hero Academia, Attack on Titan? Oh, well, actually, we have seen a live Attack on Titan, but not an American version. What was it? Promised Neverland. That's another. If you want to see a really, really good, unfortunately, you have to. Hulu has it in Japanese. Adult Swim has it in English. In fact, they just finished season 1 on Adult Swim. The Promised Neverland is a really, really good anime. If you haven't seen that yet, I highly recommend it. It's about orphan kids and a secret to the reason why they're there. That they're staying at this place, and when one goes off, where they go to. It's a really shocking turn of events for this. Not to give too much away, and they already announced at the Anime Expo that basically there is a season 2 coming. So, like I said, I highly recommend it. Who knows if they make this into a movie? It'd be interesting because the way that this story takes, if done properly, you get the right director, and I think that one is one that can be made into an American, and that because of the way it's done, the storyline itself, and it can transcend across all barriers, and whether it's in Japan, whether it's in the United States, whether it's in South America. I mean, this is the story itself can be anywhere in the world. So maybe we look for that. Maybe it might work. But tell me, are they going to kill? Are they going to burn off anime? Is manga going to take over, or will it replenish, give new life to the comic book industry? Tell me below there. Don't forget, we are on mindsandgab.com. We're also on BitChute. It takes about 24 to 30 hours, I think, before it airs on BitChute, because we have an automatic upload on those. So do check us out there. Coming soon, DLive. So until tomorrow, we will have 3 shows tomorrow. We noticed Monday, we're just basically a quiet day during the summer. We're putting out only 2 shows. So, we're going to ease you into the week, but we're going to get heavy in Tuesday and Wednesday. So we got some stuff that's coming along the pike, unless something changes. I mean, there are some some updates on Vic Mignogna. We're waiting for some updates on the Star Trek lawsuit, and a couple other stories that are in the pot right now, stirring, as they say. So, you got to be patient on what's going on. But subscribe, like, support, share. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a good evening. Bye-bye now.